been talking about the president, but I wanted to talk with you about a very different topic, actually. This has to do with sexual assault. This has to do with what we're doing in our schools and what we're not doing in our schools, how we are helping those who are survivors of sexual assault and those who are dealing with this incredibly difficult time. So I'm joined now by Marissa Jachman, who is the executive director of a foundation called the Erin Levitas. I apologize if I'm saying that wrong, Foundation. Thank you so much for joining us, Marissa. Tell us about this foundation and why it's so important.
Yeah, so thank you so much for having me. It's important because Erin was, just a regular young woman like so many, and she unfortunately experienced rape at 19 years of age, and it changed the course kind of her life. She wanted to then go to law school and work on prevention and survivor support. Unfortunately, she did not get to carry out that dream because she grew ill and passed away from cancer. But her family and friends said, we knew that what she wanted to do in the world was this work, and so we started the foundation to make sure we can carry on her legacy.
And how is that being impacted right now? Look, how is it working throughout the pandemic? I know we've been focusing very heavily on how people's physical health has been impacted, but people who are survivors of rape or sexual assault, how are we getting help to them throughout this time when it's difficult to see people in person?
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of organizations out there right now that have, hotlines and a lot of information. And where we focus is, we work on prevention mainly with focusing on those middle school students and those early behaviors to help make sure that they don't grow up learning these attitudes and behaviors that can be harmful later. And how we're seeing it right now is, things bubble up in different places. Kids are home, and so maybe it would have come out at school and they would have, been physical and trying different things, and now they're on technology more. And so we're going to see it bubble up in different places, and we're also going to see it when school does open back up. And right now we're working on a parent education program that'll be virtual, as well as a teacher training program to make sure, we can get to the kids even if we can't get to them through school physically.
So when we are in school, and I hope that happens at some point, how does your foundation actually work to help prevent sexual violence?
Yeah, so we work with the University of Maryland Law School, and what happens is right now we've run 2.5 pilots, and we have law students that go into, we have a Baltimore City public school that we partner with, and they run a 7-module series and working really closely with the school. And we use restorative approaches to deliver this curriculum that helps create healthy attitudes and behaviors that help link to the research to help minimize later actions and more violence. So we focus on things like communication and gender norms and boundaries, because research is showing us that we can, if we focus on those low-level behaviors and those attitudes, we can prevent later more violent crimes and harms.
And my guest now is Marissa Jachman, who is the executive director of the foundation, the Erin, is it Levitas Foundation?
Levitas, yeah.
Levitas Foundation. Okay, the Erin Levitas Foundation. And how can people get more involved in this?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So, you can follow us on social media, and, bringing awareness to this, like what you're doing today, makes such a difference. And we've only been able to do this because people have supported us, so we can invest in this prevention. We'll have this caregiver program and a teacher training, so check us out online, as well as you can support us through a donation or signing up for our newsletter so you can get more informed on a regular basis.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Marissa, and for all the important work that you guys are doing.
Thank you so much, Yuripzy.
All right. Well, I'm going to put that information on my Facebook page, the Yuripzy Morgan Show. You can go there and check it out. I know we were in a very heated discussion about the president and what to do, but we are still in the middle of a pandemic. And one of the biggest issues, contrary to what the mayor of Baltimore thinks, it's not just you can't just focus on the coronavirus pandemic. We can't just focus on the virus itself. If we want to talk about public health, that encompasses all kinds of other things. And the amount of issues that have been affected affected by the closures, by the pandemic, by the reaction to the pandemic is really the issue. We've had, in the beginning there were a number of stories of suddenly, heart attack victims not coming into the hospital, that suddenly heart attacks were down, as if suddenly heart attacks were actually going down. No, people just weren't going to the hospital. Now, we've seen this also with mental health issues as well, as sexual assault victims, all kinds of other issues that are being pushed to the back burner. It's now we're 10 months into this pandemic. There's no excuse for pushing these things to the back burner. We've got to deal with these issues, and we've got to deal with them responsibly. And so I'm so glad that we were able to be joined by Marissa Jachman there to talk about this important foundation. As I said, I'll post this information on my Facebook page. You can go there and check it out. But just remember that even as we deal with this pandemic, we have to deal with the whole person. We cannot ignore every aspect of life, even as we deal with this critical issue of the pandemic. So we'll talk more in just a moment, including we'll get back to the topic that we were discussing earlier.